when you need to be focused on work, you focus on work. But then when you need to focus on your kids, you focus on your kids. Those two things don't often, like, you just need to do one and then do the other, and don't feel guilty about not doing the other when you're doing the other one. Like, just, and then be super efficient with your time. Our main mission is to cultivate and maintain a world-class environment for businesses to prosper and Hoosiers to prosper.
Hey, welcome back to the Spotlight Podcast. My name is Tim Brandon. I'm glad to be back. I haven't been in this seat for weeks because Courtney Butler, over here to my left, has been running the show with Caitlin Sheets and our awesome studio host, Vision Studio. Just really been proud to watch what you guys have been doing, and just all the views continue to rise, and thankful to Community First Bank, who took a shot with us, and now watching their commercials and stuff happen, it's just kind of surreal. Really proud to be back in the seat. So with Courtney Butler, and then we've got Vanessa Green. Help me out with the last name again. Sinders. Vanessa Green, Sinders here. Thank you so much for driving all the way from Indy. I can only imagine how wild your schedule is day to day.
Yeah, I'm on the way to Valpo, so it was a good stop on the way in between.
Yeah,
Thanks for being here.
Very good. Well, thanks for being here. So we know you, Courtney. You've actually met at an event, I think, not too long ago. But for those that don't know you, please introduce yourself.
Good. Well, it's great to be here. Vanessa Green Sinders. I am president and CEO of the Indiana Chamber. I think a lot of the folks probably watching this podcast know what chambers do, given Courtney's good work. But we are the state chamber, so we represent businesses across the state, all sizes, regions, sectors, and advocate and represent them with government, provide resources, work with our awesome local and regional chamber partners, and just try to make the state better from an economic perspective. So I've been in that role for the last 2.5 years. I am an adopted Hoosier. Maybe we can get into that later.
Welcome.
But I moved here with my husband, who is the native Hoosier, in 2022, and it's been rocking and rolling since then.
Welcome. So what were you doing before you got into the chamber role?
So I grew up in a small town outside Boston, Massachusetts. I went to college in New Hampshire. I spent a year in Chicago in finance, and then decided that was not what I wanted to do. And I'd always been interested in government and politics. So a friend of mine and we rented a U-Haul with no jobs and moved to Washington, D.C., where I then spent 20 years in various government and government adjacent roles. I spent 10 years on Capitol Hill, ultimately chief of staff for a U.S. senator, so like running their overall operations. I spent time as a policy director, committee staff, like kind of lots of different policy roles. And then I spent 10 years on the business side, working for a think tank, a national trade association, and a Fortune 60 company, all in advocacy kind of leadership roles. And then in 2022, my husband and I decided, and this sounds cliche and maybe appropriate for my job, but DC is great, but Indiana is better. And so we moved here with our two little boys, who are now 9 and 11, and we love it. And then this opportunity with the chamber came about to lead the organization, and it has been an amazing opportunity to work with leaders like you two and many others to make what is a really great state even better, and to help Hoosiers and businesses prosper.
Hi, this is Ariel, Fraud Manager at Community First Bank of Indiana. We hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. If you're a business owner, you already know that there's a lot to manage every day. And unfortunately, fraud is one of those risks that never takes a day off. As you're listening today, here's a question that you might be glad you asked. What can I do now to reduce my risk of fraud? Step 1. Develop strong internal controls by monitoring your bank accounts daily and conducting regular audits of your financial records. Step 2. Implement strict payment controls, such as requiring dual control when submitting ACHs or wire requests. Step 3. Protect your financial data. Use multi-factor authentication on all of your online accounts and never use public Wi-Fi to check your bank records. Step 4, educate yourself and your employees on how to spot common scams targeting small businesses such as phishing scams and social engineering tactics. This is key to preventing financial loss. Thanks for letting us jump in and be a part of the conversation. If you ever want to chat or need help thinking through options, our team is here to help. Community First Bank of Indiana is a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. All right, we'll let you get back into the main interview.
I love that. And so for the folks that are listening, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs. Some are new, some have been in business a long time. Maybe help describe like the difference between, more of a regional chamber and then the state chamber, and then maybe just in general, what is a chamber, what do they do, even if some folks maybe are unaware?
Sure. So I'll start, and Courtney, you should chime in with your perspective. So I guess first of all, I think the state chamber, we represent the entire state for the business community. And our main mission is to cultivate and maintain a world-class environment for businesses to prosper and Hoosiers to prosper. So a lot of what we do is lobbying and advocacy with the legislature, with the governor, with our federal delegation to make sure that business climate is the best it can be. Indiana is such a great place for businesses to start, grow, and continue, but there's always opportunities for improvement. And so those are the types of things that we work on. And then we also provide a lot of resources and support for businesses. For example, the governor just announced today, in partnership with the Office of Entrepreneurship, this webinar series that we at the Indiana Chamber are doing with the state to educate businesses on succession planning and what to do when they want to move on and sell their business. And so those are examples of some of the resources we provide. When I think about our relationship with local and regional chambers, I say all the time, like, we are separate organizations, but we couldn't do our job without our local and regional chamber partners. And the business community is only strong in Indiana when we're all strong. And so I feel like the state chamber has a real responsibility and just opportunity to support and partner with our local and regional friends. And we work together on so many different things, whether it's Chamber Day at the Statehouse, or we offer small business health insurance that we're doing in partnership with local chambers, or there's never a local chamber that I don't want to go and have a conversation with so that we understand what the issues are in the different regions across the state so we can better advocate on behalf of the state. So I'm sure, Courtney, I missed some things that you want to add. So
yeah, I think that the advocacy, it's more at that local level. So as Vanessa said, that we are able to listen to businesses on that one-on-one enhancement. So we sit at over 640 businesses in our membership that serve Kokomo and Howard County, maybe some surrounding areas. But we really work with the state chamber to potentially also communicate those things that businesses are hearing or seeing and doing, so then we can better serve. But our chamber, we provide benefits that help businesses grow. We want them to be successful and thrive. And so that's a really great opportunity to be involved in the chamber and to do those things. So we're really excited to be able to work and partner and be Indiana Chamber members for a long time. But as we at our local chamber don't necessarily lobby, but that's a really great opportunity to allow members at Chamber Day at the Statehouse to meet with our state legislation and our legislators and see what's going on.
I love that. And it's funny how we're all three sitting here connected in this building, but also in our departments we're connected too. So I know the SBDC works really closely with Courtney here. We're thankful to do that because our clients overlap, our members, right, overlap. And it's just fun to hear how all this overlap happens, and when there's a broken down silo or there is good cross communication, that ultimately you're getting a good pulse on where things are at for that employer, for that company, then advocate at higher levels that would be really challenging, right? I think for an individual to do on his or her own, to go out and lobby for things, that's not necessarily a simple process. So it makes sense. And it's cool for me to understand sort of the resources here too. My background is not in politics or any of the sort of landscape here. And I'm thankful to now be at the SBDC a couple years. I feel like a veteran now. It's been 3 years, learning like a fire hose. We were talking about that before it started. Well, let's talk about, so what are you most excited about that's happening this year? We'll just kind of dive straight into that. What are you excited about, the resource or something that's going on that people should know about?
Well, I guess one thing, and this is an example of a partnership with local chambers, but, healthcare and health insurance is something that we hear a lot about from smaller businesses that, both just from the sheer being able to access it and offer it to their employees, and then obviously the cost. And so for a long time, the Indiana Chamber has offered Chamber Care, which is a health insurance plan for small businesses up to 50 employees. And it kind of, provides consistent coverage, national network, state network, all the great benefits. But we actually, in the past year, switched our providers our main provider to SciHo out of Columbus, Indiana, which has given us the opportunity to kind of expand our offerings and our partnerships. And so now we are offering this health insurance in partnership with local chambers, so that if you're a member of a local chamber or a member of the state chamber, you can have access to that small business health insurance. And this fall, we are going to be expanding that offering to 51 and above employees too, because we've heard that it's, 50 is kind of a cutoff, but there's many smaller businesses who are above that might still benefit from this option. And I think from the Indiana Chamber's perspective, we think we want employers to have as many options as possible. Like, we think this is a great offering, but there might be other offerings too, but we want to bring as many options to the table and help kind of make sure employers have those options. And so we're excited to do that and work with local and regional chambers across the state to at least educate small businesses, as many as possible, on this being another option to satisfy their health needs.
Very cool. And so you mentioned that it doesn't matter if somebody's a regional member or state. I guess my question is, can you be both? Could I be a regional member and then also a state member too? Okay, cool. Just out of curiosity. I don't want to dominate the questions, Courtney, unless if you got maybe you and I.
I think that it's been really interesting to see your transition. I think that you probably didn't think that you were going to be a chamber or state chamber CEO growing up. I'm curious to see like what you've seen in your growth in the last 2 years and what you hope to maybe achieve in the next couple of years.
Yeah. So, yes, you are correct. I sometimes say, I did not see being the president and CEO of the state chamber on my bingo card as it goes, if you had asked me 5 or 10 years ago. But I also feel like my career, I have really embraced a diversity of experiences. And I went from working on Capitol Hill to working for a think tank focused on fiscal issues to a trade association representing the hotel industry to telecom and now to chamber. And in the midst of that, I moved states and all of that. So I just have always been someone that I like to learn. I like to make a difference. I like to be involved in my community and feel like what I'm doing is making a difference. And so I guess that is kind of the perspective that I brought to the chamber. And so while it wasn't something that I maybe had on my bingo card, I also, it has been so exciting and it's been awesome, in large part because of the people that I get to work with. And when you ask about what I'm most excited about or interested in looking ahead, I think that Indiana is so well positioned and you both can speak to this in your roles, from an economic growth and development perspective to really take advantage of what is before us from a reshoring perspective, an AI perspective, and just Indiana's a great place to to grow a business, and we need to capitalize on that. And I think that, Indiana is a very collaborative place. I've worked in lots of states and lots of places across the country, and Indiana definitely has that going for it. So when I think about what I want us to accomplish, it's to take advantage of that opportunity and also continue to innovate and evolve. Maybe one thing that I bring, given that, I didn't grow up here, is a little bit of a perspective of, let's try some new things. Let's be flexible. Let's innovate, especially in the world that we operate in. You have to be pushing yourself forward and trying new things. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. Things are moving faster and faster. So
I love that. So for the newer entrepreneur that's maybe listening in, what are some resources? We the word ecosystem comes up a lot, and like our work is entrepreneur support organizations. What are some of the resources that make Indiana awesome, right, to build a business in, fertile land to build, a company in? What are some of those that every entrepreneur should at least know about, or maybe Google if they're listening to this show now?
I mean, look, and Courtney, you should chime in here, but I feel like just the it's not a overt resource, but just the climate, right? Like whether it's, this sounds like nuts and bolts, but the tax climate, the kind of availability of space. I think there's access to talent, the cost of doing business, the collaborative spirit, the state, and you have been involved in this with the state and the governor, but this focus around, we just created an office for entrepreneurship to bring together all of the great state resources that many of which are housed in your organization, to kind of make sure that we're supporting entrepreneurs. So I think there's a lot to offer. I often hear, like, on the opportunity for improvement or challenge perspective, like access to capital, right? Which we probably all hear all the time, but I feel like there's lots of movement happening there. And then the kind of succession planning, we have lots of businesses that are kind of maybe getting to the point where they might want to transition to new ownership. But I would view that as like an opportunity for a new entrepreneur to get into, entrepreneurship through acquisition into another business. And Indiana has lots of those opportunities. So curious, Courtney, what you would add there.
Yeah, I think that there is so many resources out there. And so I think, to your point, Tim, like with ISBDC, there's so many opportunities, and we have locally your office now housed at IU Kokomo, but so many resources on our website, greaterkokomo.com. There's so much going on in economic development, specifically in Kokomo and Howard County, but every city or county in the state has really great resources with their chamber and with their local ISBDC too. Yeah. I think that now that we have a platform where we can find all of those resources, I think it's a really great opportunity for Indiana to see entrepreneurship grow.
Yeah. So when I'm advising folks, which primarily my job is a navigator or coordination manager, is to connect the right people together, and I love doing it. When I find out kind of who somebody is, where they're at, where they want to go, then making those strategic connections with things that'll push the needle for their business. And there's so many of those resources, to both your points, here in Indiana. One of the things that I recommend generally is get in the way of opportunity. Go out and go meet our office at the SBDC, go meet our regional director and all of our staff, but then jump over to the Northwest region and then go to the Southwest region. You're not territory bound. You can go across the state, and it's interesting geographically located. Depending on where you're geographically located, there's resources and tools and talent that you can tap into in those pockets. So a lot of times for employers, they don't often know that, one, what does the SBDC even stand for, right? Well, Small Business Development Center. But then they can skip over sometimes the reality that meeting those people, building the relationships, getting into that ecosystem can help open doors to new events, to new pipeline and talents, new opportunities to push for legislation if they're experiencing something that needs to be communicated. So That's in general because there are so many resources. And shout out to Brian Shutt and his team at the office, because I feel like that specific resource of transitioning and exiting effectively, or even building with the intent to exit, is this lost knowledge, sort of hidden knowledge, I think, and a challenge in and of itself. And the timing, I think, is wonderful when you look at the data of all these different companies that are reaching that point of wanting to pivot, maybe don't have anybody to pivot to. So getting in the way of his office and their team that's, spearheading these in-person events and online event series is just a really good idea. So excited for his career. And actually, Brian's going to be on the show not too long from now. He's going to come in. So shout out Brian Shutt.
I think too, just to kind of segue into our next section, you talked about how there's opportunity for potential entrepreneurs to acquire a business, but I think about too, just like the mom and pop shops that are looking to potentially start their own business. Do you see things coming down the pipeline in the Statehouse that might affect entrepreneurship or new innovative ways that is going to be able to support businesses as well?
So look, that's a really good question. And 2027 is a budget session. So that's the time for funding requests to be made. Mm-hmm. And so I would imagine like one example, it doesn't get exactly to I guess, entrepreneurs specifically, but previously the state funded manufacturing readiness grants, which helped companies, probably more smaller companies, kind of buy new equipment, innovate, help take their business to the next level. And that unfortunately was cut in the last budget session because of some of the fiscal challenges we had. And I think that initiatives like that, we and others will be thinking about what are those best initiatives and how can we advocate for them, because there probably are some resources that entrepreneurs need that just to help get them started. And we actually, at the Indiana Chamber, the way that we craft our policy positions that guide kind of our advocacy at the Statehouse and where we get involved, we have policy committees. And one of those policy committees, one is economic development and one is technology. We have 9 total. But this spring, when they were evaluating different policy ideas, they did a policy pitch competition to have kind of new policy ideas to support economic growth, innovation, entrepreneurship. And they had different committee members come in and pitch ideas. And so I do not know which of those ideas is coming out of the hopper, so to speak, that we will kind of get approved through our governance process for next year. But I just say that as I think there's fertile ground to kind of have those conversations. And I also feel like there's lots of support from legislators and the state to be creative about how we do it, recognizing look, we are a fiscally responsible state. So if you are asking for money, you need to talk about its return on investment and why it matters. And, there is a high bar, but I also think the state recognizes the importance and will be there to reinforce that.
Absolutely.
So my question is more centered around employers. Like, how do you become let's just assume you're an Indiana employer, how do you become the employer of choice in Indiana? How do you stand out and be genuinely a place where people want to work and be a part of?
Yeah. So, I feel like there's probably so many different ways you could answer that question. Obviously, culture and team, we hear about those things all the time from our employers, wages, benefits, that whole package. But I also think some of it is, we talk about quality of place and being a place that we hear more and more about team members and employees picking where they live based on where they want to live and then finding their job after that, or the job kind of comes secondary or isn't the first reason. And so I think thinking about that total package, both internal to the company and then what else is happening around in your community. But that's a testament to Indiana, whether that's READY grants that the state's invested to try to improve quality of place or other things. We have a lot going for us. And I would say it's a little bit of a shameless plug for something we do at the Indiana Chamber, but back to resources for businesses. I think it was our 20th year this year for doing best places to work in Indiana. We do this competition. Employers send a survey to their team members. The data all is kind of, confidential, goes to a partner that we have that scores it. And we awarded 120 companies this year as best places to work. There's all these different categories, like up to kind of number one. And there are so many different innovative things that companies are doing to be a best places to work. And I think that's also something that we as chambers of commerce want to elevate and support and share those best practices so that other companies can do that too.
Love that. And having great health insurance is another way, right? For recruitment and retention. It's a thing that matters to folks when they're choosing a place to operate out of, and you guys have that option as well, which is really cool. So it sounds like a multitude of things. What makes a really great chamber partner? So I'm curious, what are some of the things that if you're a local chamber, you could do, or the characteristics of that make you a great sort of chamber to work with at the state level? And then what are some things or characteristics that maybe aren't so great? Maybe talk about both.
Well, you can probably tell I'm a glass half full type of person, so I'm probably only going to answer the first part of the question. But I mean, look, I think showing up is really important. And so being engaged, participating, sharing your ideas, showing your enthusiasm. I mentioned it earlier, but we do a chamber day at the Statehouse every year. I think our high water mark has been 40 local chambers participating in recent past, which is awesome. That's basically almost half the local chambers across the state. But to me, it's when we can all come together and show the legislature or the state or other kind of groups, this is the power of the Indiana business community. We can all come together, and you should listen to us and what's going to help make the state better from an economic standpoint. So I think we have so many great examples. Another, recent example, because we haven't touched on this topic yet, but data centers and AI. So we have started a series, Data Center 101 education series with local and regional chambers. They are private events just for elected government officials at the local and state level to get information on what should communities be asking for? What is the community benefit? How do you answer the energy questions? How do you deal with the water? If there's water challenges, how should your community be thinking about this? And it has been, I was just in Elkhart last week where we did one in South Bend, in Portage, and those have been in partnership with our local and regional chamber partners. And that's just another example where we can just accomplish so much more when we work together, and we've got such awesome partners, and I mean, this conversation is another example of that, where we're working together and talking about how we help the state and different regions move forward.
Love that. Super cool.
I think about that too. We talked a lot at our state conference a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, about just how it is coming, AI is coming, and there's a lot of diversity and different opinions within that scope. What are you seeing from those conversations? Do you think that has helped, I'm sure, just educate our legislators so they can know what to look for because it is coming?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so these events we've seen kind of town council members, mayors, planning commission members, county commissioners, state legislators, so the whole gamut of local and state government officials. And all the feedback that I've gotten is that they've just really appreciated the opportunity to have more of a off the record conversation, be able to ask questions, get information from experts on all of these topics so they can make the best decision for their community. And we at the Indiana Chamber have talked about, like, we support responsible development of data centers as part of an economic development strategy, but the local community has to be involved and it has to be the right fit. And you have to be able to kind of go through all of those questions. And I think that my view is that we should just make sure that communities have all the information, because there is a lot of benefit that can come to a community from development, but it also has to be done in the right way. And the community needs to set it up and structure it in a way that does that. And to me, data centers is one example of a larger conversation that I think chambers have a role in around growth and explaining how growth impacts individual Hoosiers and making the connection of how growth in your community can help you and support your community and support your family. And what does that look like? What are the parameters? All of those things, because I think increasingly, and I mean, Courtney, you have some great examples of how growth is really impacting your region and community. We were just talking about it before we started the show, but we have to tell those stories or else people don't know them and they can think something else. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to think other things too with the internet and massive information. And so I think the idea of responsible planning and getting communities and constituents engaged in those conversations effectively, not just angrily, because people have great ideas. So enlist those into the solution of a yes, a no, or a maybe, or a pause, right? This is the effective way for a community to thrive, I think. So I love that, the thought of educating and coaching, like, on how to have those tough conversations. It's just a crucial conversation, especially when there's a lot of information and data, right, regarding the conversation to be had. So what's that look like and how to manage it is probably a really valuable resource for those involved at planning stages and such. So my question is, you've had a lot of different leadership positions, and you're leading now effectively. What's a book or something that you learned that would help somebody that's trying to be a better leader?
So people always ask me about books, and maybe this is the wrong answer, but I'm like, I have no time to sit down and read a whole book. I have a job that takes me everywhere across the state and 2 kids that I try to see and a husband and everything else. But all joking aside, I think I have been blessed to, throughout my career, work for several women CEOs or leaders who were also working moms. And for me, as a working mom who still has like school-aged kids, young kids, seeing how those leaders kind of managed all of that and has really helped me be able to lean into being that type of leader. And I saw from each of them that they did it their way, which wasn't like anybody else. And they also, like, one of those leaders often told me, Vanessa, you have to compartmentalize. Like, when you need to be focused on work, you focus on work. But then when you need to focus on your kids, you focus on your kids. Those 2 things don't often, like, you just need to do one and then do the other, and don't feel guilty about not doing the other when you're doing the other one. Like, just, and then be super efficient with your time. So I try to abide by that, and also, like, give yourself some grace. Like, things don't go perfectly, and you just gotta, like, take a deep breath and pick yourself up and move on, and you have a great team around you, and let them do their thing, and take it one day at a time. And we're all blessed to work in jobs and for organizations that are truly making a difference, and you can feel good about that every single day.
I love that. I think we first met at the Chamber Day. I got a chance to sort of watch you in action, and it was really cool. Just one, it's very clear that you've inspired people, and I think it's cool to see see that in person, but also just how you spoke with people and how you carried yourself. I was telling Courtney before you even got here, I was taking notes. Like, just, I appreciate watching people who are good at what they do. And it could be sports, it could be in business, it could be in service and support. So it was really cool to just sort of watch that happen in real time. And, to be inspired, I think it's clear to say that you're also inspiring other women too. So for that female entrepreneur that's watching now, or female,
come talk to me if you need some encouragement.
Yeah, perfect. Here, say that to them.
Come talk to me if you need that encouragement.
Perfect. No, that'd be great, and it's fun. I've got a 6-year-old daughter named Finley that I hope she goes wherever she wants to go, builds whatever she wants to build, and isn't held back by anything. So it's fun to be with you two leaders. Do you want to get into some rapid questions?
Yeah.
Do you want to get in? You want to?
Yeah.
You got those on there too?
Yeah.
So these are just like, before we close, we just ask a few.
So I've been really curious. Like, you've been across the state and being new to the Hoosier state. You said 2022, right?
Yeah,
so you've been here now 4
4
years. What's been one of your favorite places or businesses or things to do?
Holiday World, and I say that because of my 9-year-old who loves it, and we go every summer. We stay in the cabins and we have a great time, and it's just pretty awesome. And there's so many awesome things, but it's rapid fire. So
all right, cool. That's a good one. I'm taking a mental note of that. Who are 2 people that we should interview on this show next?
Oh goodness. I would say, have you had Jeff Ray from, I'm going to go with my local chamber connections, but he's president and CEO of the South Bend Regional Chamber, and back to our data center conversation, he would be very well versed in.
Jeff Ray.
Yep. And he's from kind of like this part of the state. Can it be any part of the state, or are you like focused on?
Yeah.
And we already got Brian. Brian's on, we got Brian.
I know. I'm going to come back to you on that one because I want to give you like a
solid
recommendation, not just me coming up with someone.
Courtney, you got the next rapid?
What has been your favorite Indiana small town? Besides Santa Claus, Indiana.
Besides Kokomo, Indiana.
Well, I would say Clay City, Mayberry of the Midwest, because that's where my husband's from. He was a Clay City Eel. His dad was 30-year high school principal there, now in his like 5th term as being county commissioner, and that's my favorite small town. It's like less than 1,000 people.
Very cool. Indiana favorite food or restaurant?
Well, I'm going with a Holiday World theme, but the Schnitzelbank in Jasper.
Yeah.
Never heard of that in my life. What is it?
It's good, and it's like Jasper, Southern Indiana.
Yep.
But again, I could name many other places, but I'm on the Holiday World theme for my 9-year-old. So
it's like Chris Kendallmark, but in Jasper County. I think it gives me that kind of vibe. Totally off the wall, but what's one thing that you think is going on in Indiana, like that's going really well, but it's kind of hidden in plain sight?
I mean, I think that we are such a great place for businesses to locate, and maybe more importantly for talent to be and workforce to be, but we are like Hoosier humble and don't always talk about it. Yeah. And some people from the coast might just think that there's lots of farm fields here and there's not all this exciting development going on and culture and sports and just like great things. And I think we often can be like hidden in plain sight of, you should come and live here and you should locate your business here. Period. End of story.
Love that. Just like Kokomo. Kokomo Creek Chubbs got the Kokomo Conference Center opening.
Exactly.
Surplus Energy. Hopefully second plant coming soon. So, yeah.
A lot of really awesome things happen. It's been fun to watch the results of those things happen, right? The planning and then all the jobs. And then even at the Inventric buildings where all the folks go to train and apply, right? And go through the hiring process. It's been cool to watch it. That's where our office is as well. Yeah. Well, in closing, if I'm watching this and I want to connect with you, what's the best way to get in touch with your office or you?
So indianachamber.com is our website, and there's a contact connect there. And you can get in touch with me or anyone on our team.
Directly from the site.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. And do you have anything else you want to ask or say before we wrap it up?
Just thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. Thank you to Community First Bank of Indiana for sponsoring. And thank you for all that you're doing. And if you're not a member of the Indiana Chamber, go check them out.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Vanessa.